my name is Sydney. I was saying earlier I work at the St. Matthews Stretch Zone. I've been there since November. I've been doing stretch therapy for about 4 years now. It's still kind of a relatively newer concept to a lot of people, so mainly just here to explain what it is, how it works, how it affects or benefits my Parkinson's clients, and just the neuromuscular system in general. I've been a dancer for about 23 years now too, so I'm definitely, anything you need to know about stretching, I'm the girl for you. How many of y'all have tried stretching on your own before or after working out? Yeah. It's not fun, right? It doesn't feel great. So what I explain to all my clients that come in for their first consultation, a lot of people look at this table, they see the straps, it's a little intimidating, it's a little weird, so I totally understand that. And the way I usually explain it is when you're stretching on your own at home before or after a workout, or just like your low back is hurting you, your legs are hurting you after a long day, you kind of crave that feeling to stretch the muscles out. What that is called active stretching. So your muscles are actually contracted in order to hold you in the stretch, and even the muscle that you're stretching, say you're stretching this hamstring on your own. Yes, the muscle is lengthened, but it is still contracted. So that's called an eccentric contraction, which is fine and it's good for the body, and you should be doing that. But over time, doing that honestly has more of a strengthening effect on the body, which, as y'all know, is absolutely important, and you should be doing it. But what we do at Stretch Zone is completely different. We do something called passive stretching. So that's different in the sense that I want to make sure you get on this table, no muscles are contracted whatsoever. So it feels a lot better. It's a lot more relaxing. The effect it has on the muscle that I'm lengthening is more relieving of knots of pain, instead of keeping that contraction in the muscle as it's lengthened. So also, as you guys know, your nerve endings attached to muscles, that has a different effect with the neuromuscular system as well, strengthening versus passive stretching. So kind of the concept of that, you get on this table, passive stretching in general. This is one thing I find that a lot of people kind of have a harder time with, and once this gets easier for them, this is when they start to really notice their results and their, relief of pain and whatever their issues that they're coming in to see. So it takes a lot of people a few visits to kind of get the gist of letting go. Just laying on the table, breathing, exhaling, sending that message to your muscles to release. So for example, when you're stretching on your own, you're stretching your hamstring, whether you're lying down or sitting up. This muscle right here on the opposite side of the limb, that's called the antagonist muscle. So its job, or the quad muscle, its job is to do the opposite action of this hamstring. So when you are stretching your hamstring, that eccentric contraction is happening, it's lengthening, but this antagonist muscle is contracted and shortened, a concentric contraction. So it's kind of fighting against the release of this muscle back here. Not saying that's a bad thing, like I said, it's just going to still kind of season your muscles to have a wider range of muscle or motion. It's just not gonna feel as good. So my main goal when I get someone on the table, stretch their hamstrings, I look at the opposite side of the limb. I look at that antagonist muscle. I tell you to try and relax your quad or unsqueeze your knee. I have a lot of little kind of tricks, like word tricks, because it's not easy to just say, relax that muscle. Not a lot of us have that ability. People that are really tense, even people that are perfectly healthy, active, young, some of them half the time are 10 times more screwed up than someone with Parkinson's or someone with arthritis, or they're just tense. So that's where I really find the benefit to break through for a lot of people, is when that neuromuscular connection is kind of strengthened in a sense. I can kind of trick their brain into telling certain muscles to relax through certain ranges of motion. That's when it starts to feel really good. That's when you get that kind of release overall. And yeah, I do like to give people stretches to do at home in between sessions. But like I said, different effect on the body. Strengthening is nothing without stretching, and stretching is nothing without strengthening. So I like to do both. I compare this a lot to, honestly, massage therapy. Y'all gotten massages regularly before. Main idea of that is releasing of the muscles, relaxing. But even then, I feel like a lot of massage therapists don't kind of have that they don't stress that importance of really telling the body to release using your breath. I know y'all have done like meditation workshops and stuff like that before. And I find that I like to try and stress that meditative state with my clients when they come in as well. We do a lot of breath work on the table. Some people are kind of intimidated by that. They may think I sound crazy, but I think you guys understand the importance of that, and it's not all, I'm not going crazy woo-woo on you, but a lot of times you notice, so everyone, okay, this is a fun fact. The hamstring has, if you guys had to guess, what would you guess? So say this is 20 degrees, 45 degrees, what would you guess every single person that's born with a normal body, what is the full range in your hamstrings? Does anyone have a guess what that number of degree would be? And that's, everyone has this range, or they should, not everyone does. Ballpark. Do you guys have a guess? Do you know?
I know.
Have I told you?
Yeah, we did this last time.
Oh, really? Okay, good.
So what,
Can you
180?
guess?
Yeah, that's correct. He said 180. So that's flat.
Yeah.
How did you come up with that?
I thought so. It's funny you say that. A lot of people guess 90. When you come in to see us the first time, we take a hip to hamstring evaluation. So you're lying here face up, and I'll get Eric up here in a second and show you. Just take through a few stretches just so you see the different ones we stretch. But anyway, what we do when you first come in, especially if you have low back pain. How many of y'all have low back pain? Everyone. Tight glutes, tight hips, tight hamstrings equals uneven pulling on this SI joint. So first thing I like to do before I even start stretching you, I like to look at your natural range in your hips. That's full range isn't that, but we want it to be 90 degrees here, okay? So, and then I look at your hamstrings. We want that to be 90 degrees also. A lot of people start at like 45 or less in both. My main thing first time is I want to look at if the hip is about at 45, I want the hamstring to be at about at 45 as well. If the hip's at 90 and the hamstring's at 45, that tells me we need to work a lot more on hamstrings because over time that's just going to pull unevenly on your SI joint, give you slip disc, give you sciatic nerve pinches, just low back pain and general tightness. I also really am a big stickler on right and left being even, okay? So obviously that over time affects your balance, your gait, and same thing, that pulling in the SI joint. So before we even focus on flexibility or range of motion, my main thing with my clients that come in is, are you able to relax completely through the stretch? Are you in a hip to hamstring balance? And are you in a right and left balance in your hips and hamstrings? So going back, working back to kind of relieving that tension. Like I said, a lot of people, and you can tell it's so funny, people, I ask them questions, just general questions about their health history. People can be really good shape, not have any issues, not have any diagnoses or injuries or anything like that, but they can be, one of the harder people to stretch, and that could be all due to just the tension that they hold in their body. So a lot of times when I am doing any sort of stretch of the leg that flexes at the trunk, this hip flexor right here, as well as this quad, but quads and hip flexors kind of work together. That is the biggest one I see in people. So I want you guys to all kind of go home maybe tonight, do some hip flexor stretches, or pay attention if you're sitting in the car. Are these activated all the time? If you're laying in bed flat, do you have a little tension here in your quad? Are your hip flexors activated? I guarantee about 75% of the time they probably will be. That's probably the that's probably the biggest thing I see. And the reason I know it's happening right away is I go to lift someone's legs up, they're helping me lift, okay? So tension in the hip flexors, people that sit or have sat for work a lot of their life, this is constantly stuck in contraction over time, pulling at your pelvis bone, bothering your low back. So someone comes in and says, I have low back pain, can you work on my low back today? I'm gonna start working on their hip flexors. And I've had a lot of people say, well, what are you doing? I wanted you to work on my low back. So I am working on your low back. Just wait till you get off the table, you'll see that. But anyway, I can tell right away if someone's helping me lift the legs up, they kind of wanna, and it's the first few times it's a little hard to get used to just totally, it's an intimidating looking table. You don't know me, I'm a nice person, but you don't know me, you don't trust me fully to not break your body. But I do really work on the first few visits, just reteaching that body to let go. So I have, little mnemonic devices almost. Envision a 50-pound weight behind your leg, just pulling down into the table. Envision a weight on your knee, pulling off the side of the table, letting that hip flexor go. Even if we don't gain any sort of degree in range, if that starts to happen more easily your first few visits, most of the time you're getting off the table, you're feeling a lot better, your low back pain is kind of melting away. So that's the benefit of passive stretching. That's the difference of passive stretching versus active stretching. I encourage everyone to try it out. Obviously it's hard to do at home on your own, but it's really nice to have someone do it for you. What else? Kind of going back to, so something I also do, did you want me to talk about trigger point therapy as well? This is not something I do at StretchZone. This is something I've done for the past 3 years though. I used to work at a massage therapy place, but I can do this. I work on Eric, or just started to, have a table now. But trigger point therapy is also something I do. I find that passive stretching and trigger point therapy are the two most productive ways to just get muscles to relax. If you guys haven't already noticed a theme, I don't really care about flexibility. I don't care about you doing the splits. I care about the muscles releasing. And as the muscles release, you're gonna have a lot easier time getting out of bed in the morning, putting on your shoes. If your muscles aren't releasing and you're cranking your leg up to 180 degrees, that's awesome. That's a cool trick, that's a cool party trick. But throughout your day, you're just not gonna feel that good. So, trigger point therapy, has anyone tried acupuncture before? No? Oh, I haven't either. But I understand the concept of it, and I have a lot of clients that have just extreme tension, especially women up here. I feel like that's one of the worst areas because it just bothers you up here, especially when you're trying to sleep at night. I feel like women hold a lot of their tension up here in the neck and shoulders, men hold a lot of their tension in the hip flexors. And yeah, passive stretching, we'll work on it, we get a release, it comes back. At that point, it's kind of a neuromuscular issue. It's not anything more than that. And if they've tried passive stretching, they've tried everything, they've tried strengthening and working out, seasoning the muscle a little bit more to kind of receive the message of letting go. If that's still not working, it's like almost unanimous. People, my clients with that issue that have tried acupuncture or dry needling, I can't remember the difference. One of them is electrically charged and one of them is just needles.
Oh, you know.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just recently, I had this muscle right here, the posterior, tibialis.
Tibialis anterior.
Yeah.
I love that you brought that
Posterior.
up. Okay.
Tibialis posterior.
Okay.
And,
For plantar fasciitis
Plantar
heel pain?
fasciitis,
Oh,
all of that.
That is so, I
Yeah.
love that you brought that up.
So the difference gonna be, acupuncture is gonna be just surface, just kind of right below the
Okay.
skin level. Dry needling is taking an acupuncture needle and going all the way into and through the muscle.
Okay, that's what
oh,
you
you
thought.
feel it, yeah.
Really?
Little
So,
bit.
okay, well then there's another one that's electricity, anyway,
Now, you can do dry needling with like a TENS unit and put
that's what I'm thinking.
electrodes to it. And then it creates that automatic muscle
Twitch
response,
response.
contraction, and
Did you notice the twitch response happen in the muscle while
Like
you were
when you
getting
did
done?
it,
Mhm.
it was I felt like,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
it.
I could tell he was
So that
there.
means it worked.
Yeah.
So for some reason, when muscles have knots, when muscles are cramped up, well, cramping is kind of different. When muscles have knots, how many of y'all have knots in your back, in your neck? Of course, you feel them. What that is, so muscles or fascia, they're threads, kind of like hair. I like to use that example. When they are so tight, they're overused, just like, the bottom of your feet, your calf muscles, they pump you forward and backward every day. Over time, it's an electrolyte thing that there's certain ions in the muscle cell that allow the muscle to receive an electrical signal. So they have to be charged a certain way. I can't remember, it's like sodium something, I should know this, but I forget. All I know is that if your electrolytes are healthy and if the muscle isn't too overused, overstressed, you're gonna be able to receive that signal, untangle those threads in the muscle, they slide past each other easily. So that means the muscle feels soft, it doesn't bother you, it doesn't hurt. When there's a knot, the ions or something have either left the muscle cell or there's too much in the muscle cell, it's tired, it's been overused, these threads get tangled up like hair. And so when that electric signal gets sent to the muscle, they are unable to kind of receive it or understand it and let go. So that's why drinking water is really important, healthy diet, stuff like that, just for the electrolytes in the body, you guys know that. But anyway, how dry needling works, for some reason, that's the one thing across the board, not across the board, but a lot of times my clients say that that's the one thing that really works. For some reason, that tiny needle going into that tangled up area somehow does something to the muscle cell that allows it to, oh, okay, I got the electric signal, and release. So anyway, I do something kind of working with that concept called trigger point therapy or acupressure or whatever you want to call it. I just basically do the same thing as the needles, but with my thumb or with my elbow. And
it's worked great.
yeah, it's as simple as that, just holding on muscle knots, but a lot of it has to do with, I work hard, but the person I'm working on also has to work. He has to exhale, he has to breathe, he has to focus and concentrate. It's a very neurological phenomena. Same as when you're on the table getting a passive stretch. So a lot of people find that benefits of passive stretching in general, stress relief, mobility, flexibility, but yeah, that mental clarity that people find that they're getting while doing this. Also, I find that people that want to kind of get back into a workout routine or just stretching on their own, they kind of find that motivation to want to do it more after trying this. It kind of gives them a little jump start. You find that you trust your body a little bit more, so you'll be more motivated to want to move it. Also, circulatory benefits. Nerves hit the muscles as well as blood vessels. So that movement, that passive movement, that release of a muscle that's been stuck like this for a long time, there's all this blood flow that's able to reach, deeper parts of the muscle. So you get off the table, you feel great. You feel like you just you just feel energized. Your blood is rushing in a good way. So the benefits don't just stop at mobility. It's a full mind-body effect. And mind-body effect is everything when it comes to health in general. So I stress that with all my clients. A lot of my clients, I notice, you hold grief in your hip flexors. I've read that before. People that recently lost a loved one, I want to go work and stretch their hip flexors. I want to release those, and I find that to be a common theme. So yeah, I think that's about it, just in general. I'm trying to think what else. Does anyone have any other questions of what we do, what we can do, how it works? If not, we can just show you with a dummy.
How does it differ from like a physical therapist or,
Ooh, good question. I'm trying to think of other common questions I get from clients coming in. That's definitely one. So I like that you asked that. Physical therapy, I'm sure you guys have all had a stint with it in the past. Physical therapy focuses on, well, I've actually never done physical therapy, so I don't know, but just from what I hear, what I see, physical therapy focuses a lot on strengthening. Same as what I like to focus on regarding the balance of the body. Imbalances, one side is a little weaker than the other, one side is stronger than the other. And what I do, one side being more tense than the other, one side is more loose than the other. They work towards the strengthening aspect. So they want to strengthen everything up, even everything out. And then that's why PT, this is a great therapy in tandem with PT, because they're strengthening things up. I come here and I release it. Relieve the tension. So a lot of people come in, they just started PT, they come in and try this, and like, oh, this is amazing, I'm gonna stop doing PT, I'm just gonna do this is gonna help me so much more. Don't do that, still do PT. Like I said, stretching is nothing without strengthening. This feels a lot better than PT because you don't do anything. We want you to just come here, be dead body. You don't do any of the work. So of course it's gonna feel a lot better. You kinda have to work a little harder in PT, but that's the difference. People also ask how it compares to chiropractic work. All chiropractors are different, it seems like, but they work they go right towards the joint first. They want to address the structure of the skeleton, the structure of the joint. Yes, they address tight muscles and areas of tension and tightness, but their modality is more structural based. We only deal with muscles. I only deal with muscles. Muscles are the movable, changeable structure of the body. So I think, in my opinion, it's important to start there. But a lot of, chiropractic, that just depends on the person, what the issue they're having. I'm trying to think some other common
And the
questions.
same with
I get.
PT, you know, sometimes PT, it's all according what they're comfortable doing, what they, you know, extend to learn. You know, cause I'll do a lot of, you know, muscle release, or I try to do a lot of stretching with people too, but, you know, you're not gonna get that with all PTs, you're not gonna get, you know, it's gonna just vary,
It's
PT to
becoming
PT.
more, I see
Yeah.
that more, thankfully,
Mhm.
cause it does help.
Mhm.
What is the background, I mean, what kind of education, training, or whatever goes into doing what you do?
Yeah, that's a good question. I went to school, I have a bachelor's in exercise science. This applies to everyone that works at our St. Matthew's store too. It's gonna be either ex-phys, kinesiology, sports medicine, just different schools call it different things. I have a National Academy of Sports Medicine, stretch and flexibility coach certification, but then Stretch Zone also has a separate certification that you have to complete to work there. That is under the National Board of Bodywork and Massage Therapy, so it's not under PT. Most of our education, like background, is kind of in that undergrad, like anatomy, physiology world of PT, but the actual certification or license we work under is bodywork and massage therapy, so it's a little more chill, if that makes sense.
You guys all have to go down to Florida, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the
Our
training
headquarters are in
certification.
Florida. We went to Fort Lauderdale for 2 weeks, and that was grueling. It was a long day, and I thought I was gonna have it in the bag because I've been doing stretch therapy. I was trained by a massage therapist before where I used to work, but it's kind of a different. You know, they have a different system. They have these proprietary straps that are trademarked to Stretch Zone. So just learning how to use all this, that was a big kind of learning curve for me, but it was a lot of fun. Yeah, there's stretch labs, there's independent contractors that will do stretch therapy. You'll find more of those pop up. But as you'll kind of see when we give you an example, but these straps help me isolate the muscles a lot better. So I used to work without any straps, and that was fine, but Sam, you know, lifting up your leg to stretch the upper hamstring. If your hip flexors are tight especially, this hip is gonna kind of lift as well. So if we strap it down, that's not gonna happen. You're gonna get a little bit more of a productive stretch. Say usually the waist is strapped down, of course. I pull you this way to do a little spinal twist. It helps you keep from lifting this hip with me. Isolates the muscle a lot better. So that is how Stretch Zone differs from you'll see Stretch Labs I think are popping up. I don't know what they do, but I know they just have normal tables, so yeah. What else? We've been open since 2021. This company has been around for about 10 years now, and even though I feel like stretch therapy is a relatively new concept, but it's been around, it just hasn't been marketed as such, I feel, so.
How much does a session usually cost?
Good question. So your first session is always free. That's more for us to kind of evaluate you. It's consultation just so you see how it feels, if you even like it. Sessions start at $65 per session, and that's a 30-minute session, but most of the time you're not gonna pay that much. We offer all kinds of different programs based on your time and budget, how often you wanna come in. We really stress the consistency of stretching. We do short 12-week, 3-month programs, which is just an option, of course, but usually that 60 to 90 day mark within that 3-month program, that's where that muscle memory has kind of relearned its habits. And so we want your results to be completely permanent after those 3 months. We don't want to have to see you anymore. Same as like a PT program. We want to send you on your way. A lot of people will renew and keep doing it just because they enjoy it with their workout routine. But depending on how much you come in per week, the sessions can drop down as low as $45 per session. So you save a little bit of money if you want to come in more regularly, because that can get expensive. So it kind of just depends, and that's something we can go over when you come in for the first time too. We just create completely custom programs based on your time and schedule as well. We have a few options, but it's also totally customizable. You have just paid in full package options. You save a little bit of money, but you can also just one visit, $65 right off the bat. So, and that's a 30-minute session. Some people will book 2 30 minutes back to back, do an hour full body. We have protocols. We can work from head to toe. So, say you slept funny one day, you want to work on your neck and chest, we can do that as well. So, yeah, that's how it works.
you obviously aren't covered by Medicare or anything
We're
like that.
working, so since it is kind of a newer company, I think that's in the works. We take HSA and FSA cards,
Okay.
but that's about it. Yeah.
So if somebody, like if I would come to you, what would happen? Like you said the first time would be an eval.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then from those results, you would suggest that I come back and we do this or?
Yeah, we give you our professional recommendation. Obviously, someone that's just super tight, intense, super screwed up. If they could come in every day, that would be ideal. Obviously, what fits your time and budget. But I would recommend a more frequent program. And I would also recommend things to be doing at home in between sessions as well, because we do have that fitness background, a lot of us, personal training background. Do you want to come on the table and just show them what a first time consultation would look like, just stretch
And
wise?
you guys can, I was gonna try to,
Yeah, absolutely. When we're done, everyone can
so.
hop on and get a stretch.
It's
So
a little
we're
tight
gonna-
today, I don't know if I'll go all the way 180 degrees, but maybe next time.
So what we'll do, you come in, we greet you, we get to know you, we fill out a brief health history form. You tell me any injuries you have, any surgeries or injuries in the past 10 years, or really your whole life. Anything musculoskeletally that ever happened to you, I want to know about, because I will see remnants of compensation patterns even 20 years later. And that's what I'm a big stickler on, is evening those out, like I was saying. But anyway, yeah, you just tell me what you want to work on the most today, what feels extra tight, and I'm going to explain to you how it works. So I go through the whole spiel about being as dead weight for me as you possibly can be. That's my number one thing I tell people. And then I explain how we communicate our intensity scale, so we're not breaking you or hurting you the first time. This is what people are most nervous about when they come in. We
Not
use-
breaking
Yeah.
someone's a good idea.
I'd say so, yeah. Especially like you're getting strapped down and stretched, it's a lot. So we use an intensity scale of 1 to 10. 1 being you can't feel the stretch at all, 10 being it's too intense for you. At Stretch Zone, we do short dynamic reps of each stretch instead of long static holds. I find that kind of seasons the muscle better. It gives you a little bit more mobility. For athletes, that tends to be a better modality of stretching. For dancers like myself, the long static holds, like laying in a stretch as long as I can, hours a day, that's better, but it just depends. Anyway, we want to keep each stretch at a 3, 5, and a 7. So 3 is a light stretch, 3 out of 10. 5 is a medium stretch, and 7 is a good deep stretch. But even at 7, it should not be painful at all. That's what I tell everyone. So each stretch I do, I'm going to have them tell me where they feel a 3, a 5, and a 7. So it kind of preps the muscle. We don't go right into that deep stretch. And that's completely up to you to tell me where that 3, 5, 7 is. So if you're all 3s, if you're all 1s, that's totally fine. You tell me where to stop the stretch, where it feels good for you. So when I tell people that, I feel like I see like
Yeah.
a relief. They're like, oh, good. So I'm gonna strap you down so you can't escape. This is our championship belt. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And I'll just do some general lower body. A lot of times I start with the IT band. The IT band runs from the hip to the knee on the outside of the leg. If you have past knee issues, popping, clicking in the knee, misalignment in the knee, a tight IT band can be the culprit of that a lot of the time. So one thing I'm going to tell you to do before I start with this IT band, any stretch that is flexion or crossover, I'm going to tell you to really think about relaxing your quad on top so it's not helping lift the leg, and really think about relaxing your inner thighs so it's not squeezing your leg over, because then you'll get a kind of pinch in the groin. If that keeps happening with people, I'll just start with their hip flexors first, but Eric doesn't have that problem. So we're going to go with a light 3 out of 10 here, this IT band. You just tell me when you feel that. Oh, did you guys hear my head pop? Good. We hold for a few seconds, and then I shake it out. The shaking out and like leg circles, you'll find me doing that a lot. If you're really tense, that kind of is another like mind trick to get the legs to let go. We'll hit a 5 out of 10, a moderate rep here. So this is really good range in the IT band. Full range there is about 90, but that's trickier. We're gonna move on to a glute stretch. So for this, a lot of times people's hip flexor wants to work. I tell you to think about dropping your knee off the left side of the table. Boom, yeah. Do you feel your hip flexor relax come out the top? It already was, but
This one feels great.
yeah. So this makes the stretch in the glute feel a lot better that way. A lot of people kind of want to hold their knee up, but once that drops out, you just get a more isolated stretch back here in the back pocket area. Light 3 here in the glute.
I think you just broke me at that point.
Well, he's been doing this a while too, so
Yeah.
this might look a lot different for him than.
When you say it's a light 3 or 5, what are you
Uh,
basing that
into
on?
degree.
How he went, how far he,
So I'm basing that on.
You will tell her.
Yes.
I'll tell her. So if it's just a light stretch, you know, that's the 3, and then there's a little bit more than that will be the 5, and then a nice, real deep stretch is usually the 7. And a lot of times, like, you know, it's like, I'm pretty flexible for a guy, so
Yeah.
like my 7, I'm like, okay, I can keep going and keep going, you know, and so, you know, I even have to learn, the hardest one for me is the 3, because I'm like, you know, what's a light stretch for me? Because
That's a good point though, because some people like yourself that are flexible in really good shape, they'll come in, they say, please give me all 11s today, I want you to hurt me. I say, okay, I'm still gonna say 3, 5, 7 each stretch, just so I can like keep track of where we're at. I remember how many times we've done the stretch. But it's up to you, like if you don't wanna call it until it's up here, that's when it feels good for you, that's totally fine. I always tell people it's up to them to do 3, 5, 7. Some people need their 3, 5, 7 is all in the same spot and it's all at like a 1, that's totally fine. So that's totally up to the person getting stretched, just where it feels the best for you to stop the stretch. And I always tell you where you should feel the stretch. If you feel it in any other spot but there, we want to stop and kind of reset, make sure nothing else is working. I'm a huge stickler on that. I'm gonna do spinal twist because this is everyone's favorite.
So the 3, 5, 7, is that relative to the patient? Or is 3, 5, 7 a set number, and regardless of the patient, you wanna get to a 3, you wanna get to a 5? Is your 3 the same as my 3,
Oh,
the
no.
same as that?
No.
I hope it isn't because everyone's bodies are
yeah,
different.
everybody's gonna be.
So it's relative to the patient?
It's
Yeah.
where
It's not,
you,
you can't say, well, I'm a 3 or I'm a 7, it's relative to you, cause
Yeah.
it's a different
Yeah.
set of
Your 3.
standards for you as compared to someone.
Cause like say if I were to do an arm stretch, my 3 might be all the way down here, your 3 might be all the way up here.
Yeah, but your goal is not to have my 3
be at a certain
become
spot.
your 3.
No.
No, okay, so it's relative to the patient.
Let's actually, I'm glad you brought that up. So 3, 5, 7 is all just based on what you feel,
You
how the stretch
individually feel.
feels. Yeah, the client on the
Okay.
table feels. 3, 5, 7 has nothing to do with where the stretch stops,
Right.
like degree wise for me. I don't care about that at all. I do care through your program. I do wanna get you to 90 degrees natural range. I'm not stretching, I'm just before we even start. After, you know, you go through your stretches, over time, I want you to be at 90 degrees here, just naturally, and I want you to be at 90 degrees here, naturally, okay? So when I'm stretching the hamstring, I don't care where your 3, 5, 7 stops you. I don't care about that at all. I don't look at that, I don't pay attention to that.
A lot of
But,
times your 3 is gonna be like here at the beginning, then your 3 might be up here,
yeah,
you know, after a while. So
That's
your
all based
3 is
on
gonna
you.
change as well, your 3, 5, 7 will change as you go on.
but then after even the first session, I do like to look at it again. I want this to be a little bit more. I want this to be a little bit more. I want maybe your IT band, if you have any issues, maybe that to be a little bit more at the end. I don't always really check that. Mainly just want you to feel good, we get a good stretch and we get you off the table. But after that 3-month program is when we kind of look at that again, compare notes from your first time when you came in, and then ask you what you want to do. We have maintenance programs where you can come in just like bi-weekly for a lot cheaper cost too. Hopefully you're done. We send you on your way, we don't have to see you again. But some people just keep doing it just because it feels good with their workout routine too. We'll just do normal spinal twist. This is everyone's favorite stretch too. These are just, so there's some that we do, just feel good stretches, to kind of realign the body. When you go to a chiropractor, this is what you think of. So I'm gonna have you kind of scoot this way a little bit, you know this one?
Oh.
So this one is just a feel good stretch, so I just tell me when it feels good. Don't worry about any sort of 3, 5, 7, we're just gonna do 1 rep of it. This is for the low back, of course, so I'm gonna tell him really think about relaxing your groin as I push over. Don't help me squeeze that muscle over, because that's gonna give you a really good release back here. I'm gonna have you take a deep breath in. Yes, and just tell me when it feels good. So he's all the way over, I'm gonna take my shoulder, push a little bit more. My ears keep going. And this one I gotta put my body into it. So it's funny how every client, like some I'm like barely breaking a sweat, some people I'm like shaking and sweating after each session. So this way so I can even you out.
And you will realize when you relax the muscle because, I think it's just automatic at first, even for me, and I can relax my muscles pretty easy. But even at first, before I relax my muscle, it's still, kind of automatic to kind of fight against whatever, but then when you relax that muscle, you will feel like, you will feel it big time.
Yeah.
And then that just enables you to do a full stretch of this.
As you go through the session, and it usually gets easier as you go through your program. That kind of difficulty relaxing, I call it the protective mechanism. Say you tore your ACL on this knee, you're gonna have a little bit more protectiveness in your quad here. So you're gonna find that this side might have a harder time letting go. Those are little things I like to pay attention to as people go through their program and work on. So as you're noticing, I'm not huge on how flexible you are, I'm huge on how the body's reacting to certain stretches and ranges. Deep breath in for me, and leaving out here. Sometimes we'll get some good cracks and pops, but it's never my goal. I'm not a chiropractor, but a lot of these spinal twist stretches, people will get some gnarly pops, and that always makes them happy, but I never try to do that. But when it does happen, it's usually a good thing that probably needed to realign itself anyway, so.
You can do this stretch where you go stretch me that
Bow
way.
arrow, yeah, center back up on the table.
And then,
This is another spinal twist one. These are our most intense, not intense, but like, some people are a little like nervous about these.
they feel great. But yeah, on this one, I'll be able to show you guys, because this is one that every time I've gotten stressed, they'd always say, oh no, release or relax your shoulder or relax, and you guys will physically see this one, of what I normally do, and then whenever I relax it, you'll be able to
Yeah.
physically see
So
this
what
one.
we'll do, I like, go this way.
Yes, it needs to
We'll
look.
be chatting and talking during the first rep. I'm gonna distract you. And then the second rep, I'm gonna have you breathe through it. Most of the stretches we do and at least most of the stretches while you're laying up, we do some that you lay on your side, some we have your legs hanging off the table for the hip flexors, but most of all these stretches, if there's something that's not for the legs, like calves, hamstrings, hips, glutes, if there's something that's not wanting to let go and give me a passive stretch, it's most of the time the hip flexors. So usually as I'm working down here, I'm having little mental tricks to get you to drop your legs down, relax your hip flexors. This one though, you were saying, this one's trickier because it's for the spinal column. So the muscles that like to kind of protect and tense up are different. The abdomen likes to tense up, the lats like to tense up, the chest likes to tense up. Notice how all of these are on the opposite side of the body as that spinal column. So hopefully you guys can like see that kind of happening, we'll see. Okay, so think about something really stressful that's going on in your life and tell me about it. Anything? How was you guys' drive back from Indianapolis yesterday?
I thought it was pretty good, but, yeah.
Yeah,
You take the scenic route?
rush back to a meeting or
I did
business?
take the scenic route,
Yeah, good.
back day.
This is one that we'll just kind of hold a little bit longer because it's just a feel good.
Your
and I'll do-
boxing participants stress you out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now right there, I was actually staying more tense.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, but
Yeah.
some people will really like, so see how he's already lifting his shoulder off the table? Go ahead and just drop that down, yeah, yeah. I like to say, go wet noodle for me.
Yeah,
Deep breath in. Wet noodle, let your head drop down towards the ground. Drop that neck down, yep.
I'll stay a little tense, and then once I release this,
Whoa! I was not expecting as much. Yeah, look at the range gain there. So even your arm up here, I felt you release that. That even helps do the stretch back here in your trap too.
yeah, because
So,
it really is almost
good.
if you start with your grip on your forearm, but then even when you kind of release that
I
grip
got it,
as she
yeah.
has you, that helps you release all of those muscles there too. Because as you're pulling, you want to, you're tightening up those muscles. You release that, you release. Wow, that feels great.
Yay! It has a lot to do with like trust. I understand, I'm a stranger, you haven't, and I'm touching you. I understand that's a little iffy, so it takes a few sessions to get there. This is fun. This is how we get you off the table after each session, so you truly do not have to do any of the work when you come in here. Boxing gloves, 1, 2, 3. Whoop.
yeah.
She looked at me, I didn't.
Ah,
Mhm.
so even like my linebackers can do that.
Yeah.
So,
Who's next?
So what kind of things can you do on your own in between?
9
So-
times out of 10, I'm telling people to do lunges at home, lunge stretches, so active stretching at home. Different than what we do, but I like to tell people to do it because some people are just so tight. I'm like, I don't even know if we'll be able to start the stretch yet. You might need to work on it a little bit at home. But for hip flexors, you guys should all probably start doing this because everyone's hip flexors are tight. A deep lunge here, it might start up here. You have to hold on to something, that's totally fine.
Couch.
As long as you're putting all your weight into this front hip here, that's stretching the hip flexor. That's gonna help release. If your low back's ever bothering you, this is a great stretch to do. Eventually I want you to be able to sink down here, but notice how I'm still sinking all my weight into that front leg. Not here, not into my butt. So that's a glute stretch, that's fine too, but you can sink down, go down to your elbows, pull that leg back, stretch your quad, sink back, hamstring. I give people side lunges to do all the time. Down here, eventually you want to hit that for the groin muscle. Groin muscles are tight, so I have, depending on what felt tightest during the session, I'll show you the stretch to do for that muscle a lot of times.
I know it seems like you guys, like, there's no way I'd ever be able to do
Oh,
that, but
yeah.
you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Everyone has the,
You start somewhere and then you're
Range.
able to get that range of motion.
it's just the stretch reflex, it's just eliminating that.
I can do that if I'm floating in a tub of water or something.
That's a good idea, I've had people tell me to
I'm
do that.
surprised that they don't have some type of therapy where you're
Water
exercising
stretching.
in water,
Yeah.
water stretching, really.
Yeah.
Because, my bones are so brittle with here, and the older I get, that's the one thing, but having Parkinson's on top of that, you're just breaking all over the place,
You just created my next trademark.
I
yeah,
think
seriously.
so.
I think you should do it, I really think you should do something.
There could be a lot to that.
I think so.
Cause going all the way down here, that's a lot of stress on this knee joint here,
Yeah,
a lot of weight on
I
that.
can float around in the water all day long and feel like I'm getting good exercise,
You can use
And
the
I'm
ball,
not-
Yeah.
chest stretches. We might have just done something.
Yeah.
Just remember, it was Bob's idea.
Yeah.
You get some residuals.
Give us a cut.
Well,
Actually though.
I think
Yeah.
that with anybody with movement disorders, I can see where stretching would be vital.
Yeah,
I've never done it, I don't exercise my whole life, I just work hard.
yeah.
I'm a hard labor, break rocks type of guy, not, fancy schmancy, Hollywood, stretch league,
And people like yourself, that's the vast majority of our clients,
Yeah,
hard workers, old, like used to play
Mhm.
football.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, screwed up, really screwed up bodies.
I done high school,
It helps.
pole.
You do your boxing now, that's your exercise.
Yeah, but, it's not enough,
Have you ever had anybody tell you they're nauseous after a stretch?
Yes, I love that you,
Cause I
You
do,
guys
I
hit all the
can't do
things I did
yoga
wanna talk
because
about.
of that.
so, that's so funny. Yeah, a lot of times when people are really tense, have really tight muscles, just from that subconscious tension all the time, all your life, like years and years of that stuck deep within the muscles. What happens when I was talking about those electrolyte, those ions, calcium, sodium, potassium, whatever else, either too much or too less, I can't remember, are stuck deep within that muscle. When that muscle finally gets released, those threads start to thread across more, those ions release, that electrical signal is received, but a lot of times there's so much of those releasing through the bloodstream, your body kind of freaks out. It doesn't know what to do with that. It doesn't feel good. It can even elicit like a immune response. I've been nauseous after getting deep tissue massages. That's totally normal. That's just the kind of the toxins stuck in your muscles for so long, releasing through the bloodstream. And it's not gonna feel that good. But then after that kind of works itself out, it's gonna feel really good. I had this bodybuilder, this is why I love Eric and Erica, because they understand the importance of this. At my last job, I had a lot more bodybuilders I worked on actually, which is funny. I had this one guy, he was, huge, great shape, but just, I could barely do any stretch with him at all. Like I could barely even get into the position to even perform any stretch. It was that bad. He was so immobile, so locked up. And he told me that his personal trainer tried to stretch him out a few minutes after training one day and then did the massage gun all over his body for like 5 minutes. He was sick in bed with a fever for 4 days afterwards because his immune system, it shocked it so much. So that's normal that happens. It's not good to feel nauseous. I wouldn't want you to like push through that and keep doing it if it does make you feel nauseous, but that's something that should improve over time with consistency though.
Because it goes away, it doesn't last, and then I just stopped doing yoga, so.
Since remember when I first started yoga or active stretching, they're kind of the same thing. Contractions. No contractions. So you might notice a little nausea because things are releasing, but the muscles are gonna be more released in general throughout the session anyway. So it should be a little less aggressive. But then again, you're also laying flat. I know that kind of, makes people feel a little dizzy when they get up. I make sure to get people up really slow, give them a second before they stand up and walk around. It's not very common, that doesn't happen a lot, but it is normal for some people to feel a little dizzy or nauseous during or after a session. But we communicate like throughout the whole session. I check in how you're feeling pretty much every 30 seconds, so if you need to take a break, drink water, that's totally normal. But it's worth a shot. That's normal effect, I'd say. What else? Any other questions? What I'll do, does anyone want to try to stretch today? I know it's too intimidating, but I'll give you
I'll
guys.
do it.
You wanna do it?
Why not?
Come on, let's do it.
Go for it, Shelley.
That'd be awesome. We'll just do a little, nothing crazy. Something light.
So if you're looking at physical therapy and stretch therapy, what percentage of time should be devoted to each? Is it like a 50-50? Do you do more physical therapy than this, or?
Because it's all in conjunction of what you need. If you don't need physical therapy at all, you could just do just stretching. Eric and I, we go and just do stretching, on a weekly basis.
Right, I'm kind of putting physical therapy and some of that stretching together.
Yeah,
Some of the
because
stuff
if
you
you do
do
have
on
some
your
physical
own.
therapists,
Yeah.
we'll do stretching with you, or we'll do muscle release with you.
On that pillow. So she was mentioning that acupuncture she had done on the calf muscle. Dry-needling is what you got. Cool. I have a lot of clients with really bad plantar fasciitis, and what I notice is, of course, they also have kind of inverted tight hip flexors, but it's not necessarily always stemming from the hip flexors. That's not the answer to everything. It seems like it is sometimes. People hold a lot of tension in their calves as well, and that turns that foot in over time. It clenches this arch up, so it's turning tension in this muscle or this muscle, whatever it may be, in the calf, or even in the shin. This can tense up and turn that foot inward and down. This is going to tighten up over time, cause plantar fasciitis pain, tightness in this fascia. It's the most painful thing ever for some people, and that travels all the way up to the leg. Turning that in is going to shorten that groin muscle and shorten that hip flexor muscle. It's going to give you low back pain. So everything's connected, especially when it comes to this posterior chain, hamstrings, calves.
My groin's very tight, if you sit like.
That's probably
Indian
related to
style,
that.
I mean, it can't happen.
So what I would, someone that tells me that they come in, I would really first few sessions just focus on calves and groin. I love finding those little like piecing together puzzle pieces all the way up the body. And honestly, might not really need the belt for these, but just so you get the full effect. What side is, what foot is it on the,
Left.
left side? Okay, so just some calf stretches here. So this is where you're gonna tell me when you feel that light three. Just a nice light stretch, just starting to feel it. This is stretching the upper calf, the gastrocnemius, closer to the knee here. And my main concern is also making sure she's not flexing this shin muscle, helping lift the foot. Alright, tell me when you feel that light three.
I'd probably say now.
I think, yeah, those are tight. Okay, shake it out a little bit. Tell me when you feel that 5 out of 10, moderate stretch here.
Like there.
Good. You're not tensing, you're not helping me lift, which is really good. You can get the full passive effect.
Yeah, I've done yoga, so I kinda, and some meditation, so I kinda try to get that part down.
People that are just active in general, even people when I talk about the breathing and the meditation, they look at me like I'm a crazy person. Usually if you're an active person, I find they have a real easy time with the letting go, kinda. Alright, 7 out of 10, last one here.
It's a good stretch.
Good. And then I'm also gonna stretch the soleus, which is the lower calf muscle. I feel it's a little over in the leg. Alright, light 3. I'm gonna make sure I'm spreading her toes out as much as possible.
There.
Yeah, this one isn't as tight as the upper calf. And 5, a little bit more.
I guess there.
Good.
None of it feels bad.
Yeah, it should feel good. And 7, last one.
Okay, probably about there.
Good. Alright, awesome. Some ankle circles, loosen that up. Even me out so you don't walk in circles all day. Alright, upper calf, light 3.
There.
Honestly, they both feel like equally as tight, which I'd rather that be the case. 5, a little bit more.
There.
And 7.
There.
Good. It will kind of push harder on that one, but pretty even. Then that. Alright. Is that okay on the knee? Lower calf here. You gotta foot wants to invert a little bit, which is traveling up to the groin, making that tight. Light 3.
There.
And 5.
There.
Good. This one's a little tighter. And 7. Deep stretch.
There.
Beautiful. Okay. Feeling good? You wanna do a little low back twist?
Sure.
Wanna push this feel good? Just so you can see the favorite one across the board. Are we running over?
Yeah, but
Sorry. I can just use this way just a little bit for me so I don't roll you off the table. But pay attention to time.
not a problem.
Okay.
Please turn
We're
around.
relaxing the inner thighs. Just tell me when this one feels good for you. Deep breath in. And release. Those pinches in the groin and breath in. And relax, just tell me when. Yeah, set that arm hanging wherever. That's almost full range.
Yeah, that feels good.
Awesome. Low back isn't too tight at all, that's good. Alright, both knees up, I'll sit you up if you're ready.
Okay.
Got some gloves, just kind of brace me. So, 1, 2, 3. Okay, voila.
All right.
Feel good?
Yeah.
Thank you.